Hello friends, and welcome to another art vlog with me, Cedar. Today we'll be working on one of the cards for my Magic Pantry Tarot, which used to be the Magic Pantry Oracle, but you know, sometimes things change. We're going to jump right in with the sketching process, which is something I don't often show in my videos. I start off with colored pencils on tracing paper, which will help later when I use the light box you can see under my desk to transfer the sketch to a clean piece of watercolor paper. For now, I'm just getting the basic shapes and ideas down for this card, which is the Six of Pentacles, also known as barley. Since this is a food deck, that's the food for this particular card. You can see I sometimes use different colored pencils just to differentiate all of the shapes in the drawing. Some sketches can get really messy, so it's useful for knowing what's what when I get to the actual tracing phase. The idea for this card is a scale balanced more heavily on one side. Oh, look, you can see me doing that thing where I use my own hand as a reference, as I'm sure many other artists have done who are maybe watching. This card represents generosity as well as the give and take relationship that we all have within our communities. The hand that I'm drawing right now is doing the giving, and I'll be moving on to sketching the receiving hand in just a moment. Or maybe not. I guess I didn't include it when I was editing the visual portion. Well, on to the painting. I skipped the part where I traced the sketch onto the clean paper because it's just not very interesting and it's not that easy to film given the glare from the light box. Anyway, we're starting out here with blocking in all of the base colors, especially for the background. You can see how I'm painting around the shapes in the foreground, like the hands and the parts of the scale. This doesn't always happen. Sometimes I will paint over the things in the foreground with background colors, depending on what's going to go over top. Right here, so you can see me paint that background tan color over top of the pile of barley on the scale, because it's basically going to end up being that color. Watercolor is all about layering. It's transparent, so when you build up layers, it creates this sort of stained glass effect. Imagine you were layering different panes of stained glass in all of these different colors. The light goes through the paint, bounces off of the texture of the paper, which for most watercolor paintings, most watercolor paper is pretty textured. It gives it a greater surface area, which means it can reflect more light back through the paint and then into your eyeballs. That's one of the things that I love most about it as a medium. You can see here that I have started on a second layer for the mountains up at the top. I also added some more paint to the bottom of the picture, though I didn't include that. And now we're moving on to coloring in the foreground, like the scales and the hands. At this point, the background is far from finished, but we're still layering in just those basic colors. Got a little speed up here for you as we go through the scale. And now on the second layer, we're going to start defining the shapes a little bit more. And that's basically what I'll be doing for the rest of this video, painting-wise, is layering up colors, creating contrast, and outlining things, since that is just part of my style. Rather than outlining in black, when I'm working on paintings for a deck at least, I prefer to use a darker version of the color that I'm outlining. I think it just gives it a bit of a softer look and keeps things a little more colorful than if I were to use black. Now here you can see me using one of my favorite secret weapons. It is a white Posca marker, which is an acrylic paint marker. In watercolor, you generally work from your lightest colors to your darkest colors, which means that white is usually just the paper with no paint on it. But when you want these small little highlights like this, obviously that would be really annoying. You can use something like Frisket or masking fluid, but I just find that the markers are a lot easier and a lot faster. When I'm recording this, it is late September. I'm not sure how it's late September already, which I'm sure so many of you feel as well. This summer, as many of you probably know, I released the second book in the Eternal Library series, which was very successful with the Kickstarter, and I'm so happy to hear that people have been reading the book and enjoying it. It just brings me like the most happiness in the world knowing that people are enjoying my stories. I took quite an extended vacation after the Kickstarter that I fulfilled for that. It was about 3 weeks long, and now it's been about 3 weeks that I've been back to work. And the main thing that I am currently focusing on is this deck. Y'all, this deck is something I have been working on for literal years at this point. It has been through so many iterations. For a longer explanation, you can check out my video titled Introduction to the Magic Pantry Oracle. Of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it is back to being a tarot deck, which is what it's been for most of its life, and what it will continue to be until it is finally finished at this point in time. Sometimes with certain projects, it's just a wild ass road. That's just how it be. So thanks for coming along for the ride. I appreciate it. Now here we can see me doing one of my very favorite things, which is splatter painting. It just adds a lot of nice texture that you can't get on your own. Apologies for the way the camera is currently shaking while I dab at these little drip drops with the sponge. Here is another one of my favorite tools, which is a water-based brush pen. It just helps to add a lot of texture and go a little bit faster for these background details of the field of growing barley. I used to like barley a lot, but these days it's really not my favorite texture. The more I am honest with myself about my sensory experiences as an autistic person, the more I'm realizing that there are so many things in food and other places that I have never maybe really liked, and I've just been sort of tolerating it or ignoring it for a very long time. That said, I generally consider myself hyposensitive when it comes to taste, which means that I taste things less intensely than most people, although it can still have a bigger effect on me than if I did taste more flavors. I love to put condiments and hot sauce on basically everything. I saw a shirt the other day on TV that said, I put ketchup on my ketchup, and I was like, yes, that is me. Food is also a sensory seeking experience for me. I love anything that is sour or spicy or bitter. This card, the Six of Pentacles, is one that feels pretty personal to me as of late. For the last few years, I've been trying to learn how to accept generosity from other people and how to receive charity instead of being hyper independent. And you know what? Shocking news. Accepting help makes your life easier. I never would have guessed. It turns out that I need more help than I thought, that I need more help with things in my life than maybe other people do on a regular basis as a result of my disabilities. The society I live in the US, can feel very transactional. We are expected to give as much or more than we receive. But realistically, because of differences in ability and differences in health, differences in income, Some people are going to be giving more, and some people are going to be receiving more in their lifetimes. And that's perfectly okay. Our society can work out that way without it being a burden on anyone in particular. I hope that all of you watching this are able to find the balance that's right for you at this time in your life, whatever that may mean. Here you can see me signing the painting, even though 2 seconds later I decide that it's not done. My experience with watercolor is that it will look pretty ugly until you're about 90 to 95% finished. It's in these last few details that the painting really comes alive. I love adding white outlines to things that I want to draw the eye to, and then, of course, my extra favorite thing, which is the white ink splatters. I don't know why, but this final step just adds a lot of pure magic to all of my paintings, and so I can't really stop doing it. Here you can see me realize that the brush I had was a little too small for the amount of paint, and I needed a slightly larger one so that we can get those really satisfying drops. Well, this is just about the end of the video. Thank you so much for joining me here today to work on the Six of Pentacles for the Magic Pantry Tarot, which hopefully will be coming out in 2024. For now, stick around if you'd like to see more process videos for this deck. Check out my other work at the link in the description, numinouspiritpress.com, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.